watching Sports Extra Overtime, sponsored by Academy of Screen Printing and Awards.
Well, welcome back to Sports Extra Overtime. It's now time to take a deep dive into the big games of the night. We welcome into the studio John Camosa, who called tonight's game between Washington and Kankakee on our website, ciproud.com, for Clutch Sports Media. John, you had a high-scoring game last week. Not even close to that this week.
Yeah, pretty much the complete opposite tonight, Patrick. And these were two state-ranked teams in 6A. This was a defensive slugfest, 0-0 at halftime, 9 total punts at the half, 33 yards for Washington and only 120 for Kankakee. This game was driven by defense and defensive only.
And I was listening on the radio driving around the night, announcers pretty much saying it's going to come down to maybe 1 or 2 big plays. You got 2 elite defenses, but something's got to give. What was that moment in the game tonight? Yeah, well, Washington, a huge momentum factor. They got a big run from Keenan McCree. He had a 38-yard rush that brought him down to the goal line. Then they had a penalty for holding. They had to drive back just a little bit. They end up settling for a field goal by Devin Miller right there. So 3-0 at 7:48, pardon me, in the third quarter. But right after that, on the kickoff return, Tony Phillips for Kankakee, 97 yards. That was going to set the final score right there, 7-3. Washington with a big drive late in the fourth quarter by quarterback Tyler Humphrey. He had a little slant pass to Tyler Brown on 4th and 2, but an incomplete pass at the end there just ultimately ran out for Washington. And again, you hold Kankakee to 7 points. You're feeling pretty good. What do you think Coach Crouch is going to say to his team to kind of bounce back from that? Yeah, I talked to him after the game, and obviously says we want to play the best teams night in and night out, and this gets them motivated for Metamora, their rival in Mid-Illini, next week. They faced a really tough Georgia commit tonight on the offensive line at 6'6", 330 pounds, but the defense, just a quick shout out to Elijah Bair, Tyler Brown, Elijah Pappas, Jace Harlan, and Garrett Cox. They were completely monsters on the defensive side of the ball. All righty, one more question for you. They're about to start Mid-Illini Conference play, as you said. What stands out to you for this Washington team? A lot of people have them with a really good chance of running the table. Yeah, 27 seniors on this team, a lot of motivation playing under Daryl Crouch in his last season. That defensive line and those linebackers in secondary, they're scary. Watch out for this Washington team. All righty, we appreciate you for your insight, John. We're going to send it across the studio to Kurt Pegler.
All right, thanks, Patrick. Joining us now, Steve Cease from our Twin Cities newsroom. You can follow him on Twitter at Prof. Cease for score updates. He was busy keeping track of that Normal West Bloomington matchup tonight. And last year, Steve, the Normal West Wildcats calling card was defense, and the defense showed up again tonight.
Yeah, it did. Outside of one really long play from Bloomington, the Raiders didn't have a play for more than 12 yards the entire night. And it was really the West offense that got things going early and often. And it was behind the arm of quarterback Johnny Fryman. Fryman went 19 for 25 tonight, 268 yards through the air, 4 touchdowns. That 76% completion rating doesn't even tell the whole story because most of those incomplete passes were drops. You know, at times, the run game was not there for the Wildcats tonight. You got to give credit to Bloomington's defense. But through screen passes and getting a little bit more creative through the air, the Wildcats were able to get it done.
Yeah, Fryman with a very effective and proficient game, if you will, and Sincere Brown with 3 touchdowns. So the Wildcats, as we mentioned, have been known really for their defense. But if they get that kind of, let's say, performance on the offensive side, they're really going to be hard to beat.
Yeah, and so much about Normal West surrounds Gavin Camp and how well he's been last year and coming into this year and last week. But the Raiders held him to 55 yards of offense, but we saw how many weapons and how deep this Normal West offense is. Sincere Brown with an excellent game tonight, 7 catches, $121 catching the ball, and also had, again, 3 of those 4 touchdowns from Fryman.
And, of course, everybody wants to know how this plays into the schedule. Next week, you've got Normal West and Normal Community. Bloomington's got a game at Notre Dame. So let's just kind of look ahead and springboard what happened tonight and how it can impact next week in Week 3.
Well, obviously everybody is looking forward to the Chili Bowl, right? Could be the Big 12 game of the year, and it's happening in Week 3. Normal Communities looked really great so far as well. And look, Kurt, Bloomington played pretty well defense tonight. I would not be surprised if they're still playing football Week 10, and they've got a couple of games coming up against Notre Dame and Danville that are certainly winnable. So, you can certainly hang your hat if you're a Raider tonight. You played the 8th-ranked team in 6A pretty close for the majority of the game.
All right, Steve, excellent analysis as always. We look forward to having you with us all season long. Once again, you can follow him on his Twitter handle, Prof. Cease, for scoring updates. Time for a break. Coming up, high school